Susan Robin Bender was born on November 27th, 1970 in Modesto, California, as the only child of Patricia Chupka Bender. On April 25th, 1986, Susan, then 15 years old, left her family home to visit friends in Carmel by the sea for the weekend. She walked to the Greyhound bus station on 10th Street and G Street. While waiting for the bus, Susan ran into friends. She told them about her excursion to the coast and that she planned to be back in a few days. After their conversation ended, Susan made a call at the Depot payphone. About 10 minutes later, a full-size olive green 1977 Ford van pulled up. Susan got into the vehicle. This was the last time that Susan was seen. She had a lot of freedom for a 15-year-old, which was not terribly uncommon in the 1980s. Pat Bender, Susan's mother, assumed that Susan had safely made it to Carmel and was having fun with her friends. When Susan failed to call home as she usually did, her mother became worried. She reported her daughter missing on May 1st, 1986. Detectives soon came to the conclusion that something terrible had happened to Susan. One detective told the local newspaper, "We have certain evidence to indicate foul play was involved in the disappearance of Susan Bender." Susan's mother told the same newspaper that Susan had run away twice before, but each time she had returned home in fairly short order. She said everything had been good between us for a couple of months before she disappeared. There was no indication that she was going to run away. She added that an unnamed male person of interest had been found with Susan's diary, phone book, and clothing in his possession. Pat continued, "I am afraid she was attacked by a man the police questioned but never arrested. They did not arrest him even though they had a lot of circumstantial evidence against him." Police always believed Susan was not missing of her own volition. Detective Richard Ryer, who was assigned to the case until his retirement in 2000, told a newspaper in 1987 that he thought Susan was most likely not alive anymore. In 1999, Susan's mother said in an interview, "The police said there is little they can do without a body." Detective Rie commented in that same year, "Susan Bender just fell off the face of the earth. What is really strange about this case is that nothing has ever come up about her in all these years, and no one has ever come forward with any information about what happened to her." Also in 1999, Lauren Herzog and Wesley Shermatine, two childhood friends from Linden, California, targeted young women in and around the nearby Stockton area. There was some speculation that perhaps Susan was one of their victims. Many of their victims have never been identified. Authorities did not know if the men had anything to do with Susan's abduction. But it is possible as she vanished in the time that they were busy with their evil deeds. Susan's disappearance fit their modus operandi for victims, but despite years of investigation into Herzog and Shermantine's crimes, there had never been a link to Susan's case. They went on a spree in the 1980s and 1990s. They took the lives of several females and may have had more than 15 victims. In the meantime, Susan's case remained unsolved for nearly 4 decades. Investigators spoke to family and friends who fought to keep Susan's story alive. Sandy Silvera, a friend of Susan, commented in 2021, "Where is she? What happened to her? Whoever did this, they have to be held accountable." In October 2021, the Modesto Police Department announced that they reopened the case in the hopes of finally locating the long-lost teenager. The department said in a statement, "In reviewing this case, we identified potential areas of opportunity which may assist in moving this case forward. This includes the use of advancements in technology. Given the circumstances of the crime, we also believe there may be individuals previously unidentified who may have pertinent information surrounding Susan's disappearance." Modesto's cold case investigators were hoping that the many years since Susan's disappearance had increased witnesses' willingness to speak out. The police department said it in a statement in 2022. "It is important to remember that Susan was a child with a family. Unfortunately, that family has gone 36 years without closure or justice. It is our job as an agency to assist in providing some level of closure with the ultimate goal of getting justice." Then on Thursday, August 17th, 2023, the Modesto Police Department announced the arrest of Raymond Lewis Stafford. He is 76 years old. Stafford was arrested on August 15th in Wills Point, 50 miles east of Dallas, where he had been living for around 5 years. Stafford appeared to be hiding in plain sight for decades. Detectives got an arrest warrant on August 10th, but it was not until Tuesday that members of the Van Zandt County Sheriff's Department in Texas showed up at his home and took him into custody. He was arrested without incident and subsequently booked into the Van Zandt County Jail and charged with taking Susan's life. Modesto police did not give further details about what they believe happened to Susan. Stafford is currently incarcerated in Texas awaiting extradition to California. Exactly how detectives zeroed in on Stafford as a suspect has not been detailed. Modesto police are deferring questions to the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office, saying there was no other information they could release. Newspapers and local radio stations did reach out to the Modesto Police Department and Stanislaus County District Attorney to learn what led to the suspect's arrest, but did not receive a response. No information was released about how exactly Susan might have met her end, whether there is any chance of recovering her body, or what new evidence resulted in the charges against Stafford. In a news release, Modesto police expressed their gratitude to the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office, the California Department of Justice, and various Texas authorities for their help in the long and challenging investigation. It said, the collaborative efforts of these agencies have been instrumental in bringing closure to Susan Robin Bender's case. As detectives suspected foul play right from the start, they had a suspect nearly from the start. According to court records filed in Stanislaus County, investigators at the time traced the green van to Stafford after he was arrested on suspicion of an unrelated burglary a month after Susan vanished. He had not been publicly named at the time. In the course of their investigation, they learned that Stafford had briefly worked with Susan's mother Patricia Bender at the time. She said that she believed Stafford may have formed a relationship with her daughter after calling their home phone. Court documents showed that Pat worked for Stafford for a few days back in 1985 at his security business. They also said she admitted to dating Stafford on a few occasions. Thus, Stafford was well known to Susan. It was his rental van, which Susan had been seen getting into at the bus stop. She got into his van without hesitation, according to her friend who witnessed everything the day of her disappearance at the bus station. A woman who lived with Stafford in the 1980s said he confessed that he strangled a female with a cord or wire and buried her near the Big Oak Flat entrance to Yosemite. He said, according to court records obtained, that he drove to a campground near the Big Oak Flat entrance to Yosemite National Park and dug the grave less than a year after Susan disappeared. Stafford, then 38, ran for Modesto City Council in July 1985. He was asked by the local newspaper about his criminal record, but told the paper it was a result of him being in the wrong place at the wrong time. His arrests were listed as operating an unlicensed private investigator business and carrying a badge saying he was a private investigator. Stafford said that his campaign was focused on policies to protect children from predators. He added, "We do not spend any time getting the people who are harassing our children." Unsurprisingly, he lost the election. 5 months later, in December 1986, Stafford was convicted of setting a business on fire and pled guilty to making a false police report. He reportedly faked a kidnapping to avoid appearing in court. In 1994, he emerged once again on law enforcement's radar. He was put on an offenders register under the alias Greg Tunning Lee for abusing a 13-year-old girl in California. New court records identified the man as Stafford. Pat revealed she always suspected Stafford was behind her daughter's disappearance after she discovered the pair had carried on a secret relationship. Pat said, "I have known. I have known from the start when my daughter came up missing. I have known that he was the person responsible. The investigators did not listen to me." Pat added that that thought had lived with her for the past 37 years. She continued, "It was like I was lost, honestly. It was like I was the walking deceased woman. It hurt when I heard people talking about their grandkids and their kids." Pat said the memories of her 15-year-old daughter were what kept her going. She remembered Susan was outgoing. She was funny. She was just an average teenager, just trying to figure out where she fits. Pat never lost hope. But the quest to find her daughter was agonising until now. She said she has had to lean on her faith. She stated, "I'm grateful. I'm glad that the system has finally decided to step up and do something instead of have me wondering." Those closest to Susan hoped to learn where she is in hopes of giving her the farewell they always felt she deserved. Now in the final act, her mother says the one thing she has never wrestled with is forgiveness towards Stafford. "I know this is going to sound kind of strange, but I have forgiven him for what he did to my daughter. I really have, because I would not want to carry that with me for the rest of my life," Pat said. This arrest has lifted a dark cloud from her shoulders. "Now, I am not looking forward to how the trial will play out. I just want Susan's body found," she concluded. My message is a simple one: start listening to your kids' kids.